sa bukod, di na ba nakasalanan ng video?
Media educators are warning calls to defend press freedom.
Sa bukod, di na ba nakasalanan ng video?
Media educators are warning calls to defend press freedom.
Before a television program starts, we see a notice that says this program is rated PG or SPG by the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board. Television has become a valuable instrument in disseminating day-to-day information and as a source of entertainment for the Filipino viewer, especially children. More and more children watch television, making them prone to influences that might have an effect on their innocence. With its new chairman leading them, the MTRCB has become more active in its advocacy in making television watching more child-friendly by making parents, family members, and nannies be responsible by actively surveilling the programs and movies children are watching today. Good evening. You're watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel. Sitting in for Jing Magsaysay, I'm Amelin Veloso. Tonight, we are joined by the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board, or MTRCB Chairman Attorney Eugenio Toto Villareal. Good evening and thank you for being with us tonight.
Good evening, Amelin, and good evening to all your televiewers. Thanks for having me, and I hope by the end of this program, our televiewers would know more about our so-called Matalinong Panonood campaign.
Yes, because I understand that for quite some time, the MTCRB has been informing the public that its mandate or its role is to review, to examine, and classify movies and television and radio programs or television programs. But because you can suspend a program and you can dictate what should and should not be in a program, some may still view it as a form of censorship. But you'd like to clarify that.
Yes, we are more of a classification body because our work is anchored on that norm called self-regulation. That we start off with the premise that those in the entertainment, in business, and in media, you mean well, you have the talent, you have something to share to our people. And with that, we are like enablers, as Senator Grace Poe put it in our Family and Child Summit. We would want you to exercise your craft, but at the same time, we as a government agency and representing our people, we would also want to help you because there are certain flags that you may have to be aware of.
And these flags, you're referring to what's stated in the Constitution,
Yeah, that's right.
the Magna Cartas that are in existence.
Yes.
So what binds networks and film producers is the law, is the Constitution really.
Yes.
And that's why they're bounded by the policies stated by the MTCRB.
Yes, that's right. Basically, the
MTRCB.
the law, we start off with the Constitution. The Constitution promotes and mandates the state to uphold and promote the dignity of the human person. And of course, you include that there is the dignity of the one performing, also the dignity of the audience, no? And then there are certain institutions and sectors which are also protected and given that so-called bias, if you will, the family, marriage as an institution, and therefore parents and children. And then you have special laws, as you've mentioned, the Magna Carta on women, the disabled. We have also the child abuse law, anti-trafficking law, because you believe, yes, even broadcasting can be a form of trafficking there in the law. Because if you commoditize women or children by way of broadcasting, that is a form of trafficking, and you can get imprisoned for that. Of course, there will be other other agencies which will look out for that. But remember that in PD 1986, which is the law that created the MTRCB, you have there that we can classify material whether and use as a norm whether or not applying contemporary Filipino values if they are contrary to law. So if there is a special law that's being violated, that would be contrary to law.
how do you determine, like for example, recently I remember you suspended a TV program because the dancers were scantily clad. Diba? Parang something like that. So does that mean di na pwede mag-miniskirt? They can't show cleavage? How do you draw the line? How do you define it?
First, we did not get to suspending that particular program, but that particular program was subject to probation on a per episode basis. Also, they were subject to gender sensitivity seminar, and there were certain resolutions. Only that a few weeks after the gender sensitivity seminar, where we even had the participation of resource persons from the National Commission of Women and also a media expert from the Daughters of St. Paul. What happened was that there was another violation, and we had a subsequent conference, and what happened was that the particular program was given already a rating by way of self-regulation, also an SPG rating for sex and language.
So ano yun? Parang bawal ang magpakita ng cleavage. They can't wear. There was also another program.
Yes.
Then actually she was wearing pala a nude colored outfit inside, and she wasn't really totally bare.
Yes. The thing there is that
I mean, even those little details, is it very significant? And then, yun, how do you decide?
First is you look at the overall context, because in our implementing rules and regulations, we also have to look at the whole context.
Yes.
And it is very difficult to nitpick. We do not want a society which would be, as we say, a bit neurotic, no? But we don't want to stifle also people who are in the entertainment industry. But then again, as the Spider-Man movie says, with great power comes great responsibility. And we are here to tell and also not only tell, because we don't want to sermonize, we give help, we extend assistance, we become your partners in journeying towards self-regulation. That's why there are the seminars, best practices, conferences. So in answer to your question, first of all, the thing there is that we are guided also by the so-called safe harbor period for children. In the Children's Television Act of 1997, if I'm not mistaken, it was specified that there was created a National Council for Children's Television. And this council enacted rules and regulations, and they provided for a safe harbor period from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
So from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., you should be bounded by...
Yes, your program should be child-friendly.
And when you say child-friendly, it should be...
It should be. It should not scandalize the children. And then children, of course, because let's say, when you say you are giving a parental guidance rating, that you admit of the possibility that there will be people there, children who would be, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, in the same way that there will be children who are 15, 16, and 17.
So what's the basic thing that a program should cater to, or what are the things, or the do's and don'ts, to simplify?
You have a whole...
or to simplify, like for example, between 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., there shouldn't be, sexy dancing,
it's like this.
Scantily clad girls?
One is, of course, if anything that commoditizes.
When you say commoditizes,
it makes objects of women, because children are not yet that capable, if they're young, of critical judgment. They may say, it's just okay to have some flesh exposed, okay? But of course, let's say natural nudity, upper, for instance, you see the back when a person goes to the doctor. That's different. Okay? So you have to look also at the context. That's very important. And the thing there is that all of these. So first, no commoditization. You know what? It's funny because the Supreme Court of the United States, first, where we got a good deal of our jurisprudence. One test of what constitutes offensive material is, I know it when I see it. Okay, so it's
But what could be
yes.
offensive to you may not be offensive to me.
But that's normally said. But there are general norms always, and that's why you go in Miller versus California, which was the inspiration for our own MTRCB law. You go to contemporary community standards. For example, what I mentioned, if let's say what may be offensive, you not be offensive to me. Let's look at that even deeper. But we all agree that there is the dignity of the human person. We all agree that there is the dignity of women. And therefore, if a scene is too gratuitous and exposes so much flesh and makes just a woman gyrate at 12 o'clock noontime without any reason whatsoever, okay, that by itself already would be, well, offensive. But then again, here, the MTRCB also, many of our viewers perhaps are not aware of this, 50% of our members come from the industry. And therefore, we have that little bias, so to speak, that we should also protect the industry and help it develop. And therefore, what happens is that when we get notice of all these complaints, first we ask, maybe we can first talk to them. We engage the industry. Everybody has blind spots. You would not want me to barge into, let us say, a television studio and say, all of
Mali
you
yung
are...
ginagawa mo.
Oh, mali.
Stop it.
Stop it. Ganyan, di ba? Saan ka nanggagaling? We have to know where people are coming from. And that's where we start off. Even in whether it's the most simple case of the editor failing to place the PG rating, the pictogram, or let us say something like children are made in a script to do dialogue which is meant for adults.
Yeah, actually, I do remember before we were told that when we presented children, they're not supposed to act like adults.
Yes.
They have to remain children and should not be made to do roles that are for adults. I mean, what does the law say on this one?
Well, you have, of course, the child abuse law, although it's a bit of a negatron kind of law, no? It says what should not be done. And one thing is we should not compromise their innocence. Positively said, the United Nations has a charter with respect to the rights of children. A good document, although, and it's very in a secular tone, even the Holy See has a document on the rights of children. And the thing there is that children that's why in our family and child summit, we got experts like Chair Emily Abrera from CCP, Dr. Hani Karandang, and it was told to us that from ages 1 to 7, children are really very impressionable. What they see, they do. And there's little processing there because children are not really capable of critical judgment.
Copy.
Yes,
Copy
that's
what they
right.
see. So therefore, if they do have roles on television and the movies, they should remain as children. They should not be made to pretend like adults. Is that the
adult
consensus now?
to pretend as adults? Again, you look at the context and you have to do it very carefully. That's why we advise a particular show that we had. We called their attention to various complaints in the past. Is that they should have a resident psychologist or child psychiatrist or psychologist to guide them. Because I myself, as a lawyer, I do this oído, no? Vicariously, but there are experts who can tell us as to what will hit a child or not. Certainly, in school, there are cases where you do role playing. I would want to be an astronaut. I would want to be a fireman. In fact, during my time, I recall, I would want to be a garbage man. May ganun pa di ba? Pero ang doon, nasa nivel nila, ang naangkop lang sa kanilang nivel, sa kanilang pagkaintindi. But what if, let us say, there would be dialogue to this effect that why do you go to church? Why do you go to mass? Nakapari pa yung isang bata at sasabihin, ako yung para hindi po pumunta sa impyerno. At sino naman po yung, at bakit? Ano ba yung impyerno? Misis ko. No? So, yung processing doon, medyo, parang hindi pa kaya ng bata.
So it goes down to still the context,
yes,
not necessarily.
Yes. Yes, but just to add. But then again, the beautiful thing here is that in that particular case I mentioned, a good deal of the initiative, around 90%, came from the network itself. because let's say there are these negative things that we see. Let's just drown them with good. And then also pa nga minsan they get, when I preside over certain conferences at the MTRCB before, what I would do is, okay, ano yung good points ng show ninyo? What are the good points of your show? And then we build up from that.
Okay, we'll continue that in a while. Let's take a short break. News Cafe will return after these reminders. You are still watching News Cafe on the Solar News Channel, and we are still joined by our guest, MTRCB Chairman, Attorney Eugenio Villareal. Thank you again for being with us today, Attorney.
Thank you, Ameline, and it's my pleasure to be here, of course.
Now let's go to your task now, which is to help parents, especially, to self-regulate, or help the viewers self-regulate. And you recently conducted this summit, the Family and Child Summit. How was it? What was your objective for this one?
Well, the objective first is to empower parents, and also to bring together all the stakeholders in the industry, in the film, and especially in the television industry, because this is closer to home. And we are happy that all the major networks were represented there. A good deal of the educators, formators were present. And one is that we believe that after the reforms in the past 2 years in the ratings and classification system, it would be a waste, so to speak, if we did not empower the parents and all other responsible adults in the family, in the home, as to how to use them.
Because you can say that it's SPG, but then if they will not heed it and still continue, then...
And what constitutes, of course, SPG? Of course, we do this pedagogically. We complement this also, the Family and Child Summit, with our Matalinong Panonood campaign, where during the first phase, before the elections, we just made people aware of it. And of course, but we had already workshops where we would give a particular scene. One of our board members, Mario Hernando, he would give a scene, and then the people with the...
When you say people, the viewers, the televiewers, the parents...
Yes, those in the audience, like say in the Cordillera, or in Capiz, or in Iloilo.
And you ask them to rate it themselves?
To rate a particular scene. And we're always surprised that for us, even for me, I would rate it as a PG or an R13. Automatically, they would say it's an R18. So that already tells you something about the sentiments and the sensibilities of our people. With that, we would want, of course, for parents not to feel alone, because after all, the rating system universally is based on the perspective of the parent. We wear always a parent's hat. So let's say you ask me if, okay, how much violence will be required, will be not really required, will be acceptable for television. No, for example, you have movies. No, the movies, by the way, that you see, for instance, from the movie channels, they are already made for TV versions, and they usually
already cut a few
they cut
scenes.
off. That's right. They self-regulate. That's already PG version.
Yes.
And then the SPG aspect is in the some of the notations that per discretion, there may be
this
certain
was also
scenes.
discussed in the summit as well.
That's right.
And then did the summit, you mentioned something like what could be PG for you or R16 for you was already R18 for you. Does it mean that you will be adjusting again your criteria?
Well, not really. The criteria is there as a guide. But then again, part of it is that we also acknowledge the autonomy of parents as to how this is the principles of subsidiarity. It's a natural law principle, and we allow parents to determine also for themselves how to run, so to speak, their families. The rating system, seen from a parental standpoint, should maybe considered as like the springboard for the family to discuss the kind of entertainment they see, discuss about it, and determine that kind of entertainment they see. It can happen. In fact, I've seen many families where what we consider to be a G or PG would already be SPG for them. Well, it's up to them, and I won't mind if they say we'd rather not watch television, we'd rather have a get-together outside. We go to the mall, or we go on a picnic, or go on, like say, mountain biking, things like that. But what is important is that we are, as I said in the Constitution, the family is upheld as a social institution. We should help it, and because after all, the children, the future of the father, so to speak, come from the family. And so that's one thing that we achieved, at the summit. Although it's an ongoing thing, also we got so-called best practices from the various couples who shared the rules. You will be surprised that even those who belong to the entertainment industry don't have a no TV rule. Yes, or have a limited TV rule.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just a certain number of hours per day.
That's right. And then we tell them, the law says that there's the child-friendly rule, the safe harbor, and sometimes they're surprised. Also, we made people aware of the what do you call this? All of these laws to enable parents, because at the end of the conference, one of the conclusions was that parents are the primary educators.
What other results did you get, especially from those in the industry, from the networks and from film, when they heard the side of the parents and from your other speakers?
Yes. Well, there was a memorandum of understanding signed by all the sectors. All were represented there, even from Anak TV, the NGO, which is as a particular advocacy in this regard, also the major networks, and even the religious networks were there, of course. And the conclusion was that they agreed first is to continue this journey of ensuring child-friendly TV. Since we all come from different backgrounds, different sensibilities, we have to really work at it, because families are built, so to speak, in different ways, and how the parents form their children. That's why we even had a parenting organization that volunteered. It's called EduChild, and you would be pleasantly surprised as to one of their mottos or their slogans or taglines. It's children don't come in manuals. Right? You get a cell phone, you get a car, you have a manual, know how to operate it. But children know. That's why they empower parents. And they shared with us a particular video which was entitled, "What Children See Children Do." And there was parallelism there. If the dad curses a lot, then the child would curse a lot.
No, that's something you no longer can classify or rate
Yes.
if it's a household.
That's right. That's right. The only thing but the television is so powerful, and with the advent later on of digital terrestrial television, you would see that the UHF channel will already expand because of digital compression. The so-called poor person would have an array similar to that already. One was cable TV. So television becomes really more powerful in the next few years.
So it seems like you have a lot on your plate.
Yes.
And you've already gathered all the stakeholders, and clearly it seems like magkakaisa na rin ito lahat. And you're getting there.
Kailangan. We have no choice because this is our country. As the President has said, ito yung panahon ng pagbabago. And we have to move towards that. We have to mold and help the parents really mold their children. All of us are imperfect, but better than not doing anything at all.
What are the challenges that you foresee? I mean, you've already gathered the different stakeholders, you've had all these summits, you've increased awareness not only for the parents but also for networks and film.
Well, one thing is more on the our developmental function. We want to help out the industry. For example, the independent film industry. A few people know that we give 70% discount for independent films. as long as they have a budget below not more than 3 million. And that of course, they're not produced by the mainstream entities, and they get a certification from a reputable institution like the Cultural Center or any of the renowned universities. We would like to continue that. Also, we're planning on a independent film summit to help also increase awareness in that regard. We have continuing memoranda of agreement with the Film Development Council of the Philippines. I think it was a first also that we helped out Cinemalaya and CCP. We also had that agreement where they self-regulated themselves in the festival. Although once you go commercial, you have to pass through us. And we participated, in fact, in the Cinemalaya Fora. We also introduced the notion of classification, which basically it's anchored, as you said at the beginning, on self-regulation. If you do something, you're responsible for that. We just throw it into the particular folder or box where it should be. And we're continuing our Matalinong Panonood campaign. We have invitations already from the educational and also the religious sector. Now our problem is how to schedule all of them. And I would like to thank all those who from the various sectors that expressed their interest in our agency. Also, the buses, ferries, we're continuing our advocacy in that regard. Billboards, they should be only until G because the children have nowhere else to go after seeing that, right? So all of these, we're continuing both in our developmental and our regulatory functions.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's all the
Yes.
time we have for now, Attorney.
Yes.
But we're so thankful that you're here with us, and I would like to, of course, thank our guest, MTRCB Chairman Attorney Eugenio Toto Villareal, for being with us tonight. And join us again next Thursday for another round of discussion right here on News Cafe. Sitting in for Jing Magsaysay, I'm Amlyn Veloso. Good night.